Hi everyone, welcome back. You probably just watched a video regarding the atomic mass and the atomic number, which dealt with the protons and the neutrons. Let's talk a little bit more about those negatively charged electrons. So if you remember in the first video, I showed you the structure of an atom, which had our nucleus, that had our protons and our neutrons, and we had our shells that go around the nucleus, and those are what contain our electrons. Now, protons have a positive charge. Neutrons comes from the word neutral, which means they have a zero charge. They don't have a charge. All atoms have no overall charge, which means the carbon atom, the lithium atom, the sodium atom, all those atoms have zero charge, which means in order for the atom to have a zero charge, we must have the same number of protons as we do electrons, because positive and electrons with a negative charge cancel out. Positive and negative. So to give you an example, let's go back to some of our elements on the periodic table. So please remember, it's always good to keep your periodic tables with you when we are doing these videos together. So how about we let's look at boron, which is in your periodic table, and I will draw the symbol for you. So we have boron. Letter B, we are told that the atomic number is 5 and the atomic mass is 10.5, and we can round that to 11 just for the sake of simplicity. So for boron, if the atomic number is 5, if you remember, that is referring to the number of protons. So boron has 5 protons, which in other words, that is a +5 charge, because each proton has a +1 charge. In order for boron to have a zero charge, how many electrons do you think boron should have in order that its total charge be 0? Hopefully you guys are thinking we should have 5 electrons, because 5 electrons would give us a -5 charge, and +5 minus 5 ends up with a 0 charge. We don't have to worry about the charge of neutrons, because remember, neutrons do not have a charge. So that is another quality about atoms that you need to remember, that the number of protons of an atom are equal to the number of electrons in an atom. So let us consider another element. Let's look at sulfur. Okay, now again, I'm going to pause a little bit after I ask you the question because I want you to be able to look at your periodic table and try to figure it out before I give you the answer. So let's look at sulfur. If we consider the sulfur atom, so I'm just going to erase boron out. We'll put sulfur, so please look at your periodic table. The atomic number of sulfur is 16, and the atomic mass is 32. So, what is the 16 telling me? Hopefully you guys thought that 16 is referring to the number of protons we have. So if we have 16 protons, and I like to signify that with a P+ to remember that it has a positive charge, that gives us a +16 charge. How many electrons do we need in order that the atom of sulfur would have a 0 charge? So think about that before I write the answer. And in order for our atom to have a total charge of 0, we would need 16 electrons. So +16 minus 16 gives us a net charge of 0. Again, I like to signify the proton as P plus, electron as E negative, to remind ourselves that proton has a positive charge and electrons have a negative charge. So this tells us that all atoms in the periodic table have a neutral charge or a zero charge, which means that the number of protons in an atom always equal the number of electrons.